David Lassner.
Thank you, Chair, and let me thank all the testifiers as well. I think it's a fair question, and I'll try to work with the board about how to show our responsiveness. I will assure you that we do read the testimony, even if we aren't publicly responding to it at each meeting. Our COVID mitigation programs continue to succeed across the university system. Our case count since inception is now 117, 81 at Manoa, 10 or less at each other campus, and Kauai Community College is our shining star, still at 0. Our response teams have been outstanding, and we've had a great partnership with the Department of Health in addressing specific challenging situations when we've needed help. We're in the home stretch now of this spring semester and looking pretty hard at fall. Our employees have all been given the opportunity to schedule their vaccinations. Everyone over 50 in the state is now eligible to sign up for vaccinations. And the really good news is that starting Monday, all of our students age 16 and over will also have that chance. The situation with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is of concern, but not high concern in Hawaii at this time, since it hadn't yet really become a strong and significant part of our vaccination program due to lack of consistent flow into the state. But we're still comfortable with our assumption. I think when we started, it was more of a hope that everyone within UH who is willing and able to be vaccinated will have that chance over the summer. So we should be prepared for a fall that can look pretty different than this last academic year. We are also planning a strong communication program to address vaccine hesitancy within our community. We're fortunate that it's relatively low in Hawaii, but it is still here among our students, faculty, and staff, and we do want to encourage everyone to be vaccinated for their own health and the health of others around them. So the questions we're now asking ourselves about the fall, and I emphasize that these are still questions. One is, how can we ensure that students who arrive here from other states or other countries who are unvaccinated have a chance to immediately vaccinate upon arrival? We're going to need to understand the landscape at the time. Our guess is that the max vaccination sites that have been set up will have been closed down by then. So whether we do that ourselves with our healthcare personnel or potentially through CVS, Walgreens, Safeway, and the like, which will probably be providing the bulk of the vaccinations by then. Second question is, should we have a vaccination requirement, which would have exceptions for medical and religious reasons? About 50 universities, that's still a minority, but it's a growing number around the country, have announced their intent to require vaccination by fall. And if we move in that direction, who would it apply to? For example, maybe just students who live in our residence halls, maybe student athletes, or all students, all faculty and staff. There are legal considerations that our Office of General Counsel is working at a national level to understand. There may be implications of some state laws. And so that clarity is emerging on that. And a second kind of approach is to really see if there are ways to strongly urge it without requiring it. For example, we've been talking about whether we should have some kind of ongoing surveillance testing, what kind of tests for whom, and one approach adopted by UCSD is that regular testing is mandatory for people who have not been vaccinated. So those are the kinds of things we're working our way through on vaccination and testing. We do not yet know what the guidance will be from CDC and the Hawaii Department of Health regarding physical distancing, facial coverings, gatherings, and food and beverage. Food and beverage is one of the implications is that if you're serving food and beverage, people take off their facial coverings. So one scenario, and I just throw this out to give you an idea of the possibilities, is that with everyone having had the opportunity to be vaccinated, the physical distancing requirements may be, or recommendations may be eliminated by fall, but facial coverings may remain as part of our landscape moving forward for a longer period of time. So we're on the path back, and the health outlook is really quite positive, largely thanks to the vaccination requirements and our vaccination opportunities and supplies. A lot of these questions to answer them will require information and guidance that's external to us. So it's not purely UH's decision. Our teams have been agile and responsive to these changes throughout the year. That's the reason I think that we've been relatively successful through this year, and that's what we're going to have to do over these next months to prepare for fall. At the same time, we are continuing all of the post-pandemic planning efforts that we've reported on to the board in the past. There's no real update to the information I shared last month about the relief funding. The open question, or one major open question, is that the U.S. Department of Education has still not clarified the timing or details for HERE 3, and that's the higher education funding from the American Rescue Plan Act. They have told our professional organizations that we will hear from them in the weeks to come. Fortunately, that timing is not yet critical, as we're working our way largely through the HERE 2 funds at this time. Our extramural productivity remains strong. We are over 375 million year to date as of this morning, and again, that does not include the formula-based HERE funds. Our preliminary summer session enrollment numbers are up from last year, and that's great news. Last year, actually, we were surprised to see was an increase in summer session enrollment from the prior year, even though it was our first summer of the pandemic. We're starting to try to look at our fall numbers. It's too early to look at registration, but right now, our best indicator is applications. And I want to caution that applications have to be converted into acceptances and then enrollments, but it is the best indicator that we have at this time. Right now, Manoa and UH West Oahu are looking quite strong, with significant increases in applications and acceptances. UH Hilo is down, and community colleges continue to be down, although not as severely as community colleges nationwide. But this is an area of concern. I've mentioned before that I think one of the great challenges facing our state is the drop-off in college attendance from the high school class of 2020. We dropped from about 55% of the class of 19 enrolling in college after graduation down to 50%. So that's a pretty significant drop. Hawaiʻi P20 and our community colleges are once again joining forces on the Next Steps to Our Futures program that offers career exploration, some free classes at no charge, and provides students with free personalized advising and nudges through text messages. We're really trying to get all of that class that's had a very difficult senior year on a path to a stronger future. Last year we had 2,100 students engaged. This year we're aiming for 4,000, and we're also offering this opportunity to the class of 2020 as well, especially those who were lost from finding a future in the midst of the pandemic and not going to college. And again, this is generously supported by multiple private foundations, Harold Cale Castle, Stupski, our own Gear Up program, and federal CARES funding. And we also have scholarship support from private foundations and UH Foundation, UH Alumni Association, and others. And I just want to comment on the community college credit enrollment being down. We gave a report in the fall that was, I think, a rethinking of how we report enrollment to you. And one of the things we want to do moving forward and will do next year that we've committed to is making sure that we capture not only the credit enrollment, but also the non-credit enrollment. What we are seeing in this pandemic is that our community colleges have been extremely active in workforce development programs with federal funds, with private philanthropic funds. This is part of the reason that both of those numbers have been so strong this year. But those tend to be non-credit programs, and we really want to capture and communicate what those programs are doing. Let me highlight one more academic program, and this is at the other end of the spectrum. I think most of you know that Hawaii is one of the weakest states in the nation at early childhood education, and we know early childhood education is absolutely critical to success in school and in life. The P in P20 stands for preschool, and we don't talk that much about it, but I want to highlight a success. In 2018 and 19, our P20 program developed a small-scale pilot to help transition into kindergarten students, especially who we believe would need help in adapting to formal schooling. And we did this with funding from the Samuel and Mary Castle Foundation. That program was a success, and this year the DOE is taking it at scale statewide, using its federal stimulus money to expand the program to every interested school, and it'll be a 3-week program to help bring some of those most vulnerable children in to try to position them for success in kindergarten. Finally, let me highlight an initiative. I think you've seen my affection for our esports program. This is an initiative that leverages Hawaii's mid-Pacific location and our resilience as a state, as well as our capacity to create a new kind of travel opportunity that creates a different kind of revenue for the state. The Overwatch League is one of the major international professional esports gaming leagues, and they've had a challenge this year in organizing their championship. They have teams spread all across the globe, and there are inconsistent travel restrictions in place, including mandatory quarantines in some countries. They couldn't feasibly fly their championship teams to a single location. Internet connectivity between continents is too variable and slow for fair and effective competition between gamers spread throughout the world, and they found Hawaii to be their answer. So Overwatch will be flying the top teams in its West Division to Hawaii. They will compete here on the UH Manoa campus using our esports facility in the iLab. Our engineers, I want to call out Chris Zane, who's an amazing and unsung hero in Vice President Yoshimi's shop, engineered a direct path over direct fiber between UH and Tokyo, where the Asian teams will be competing. And they will be in a travel bubble here, just like our sports teams, staying in their hotel, coming to campus to compete, and then going back into their hotel rooms after following all applicable Hawaii travel protocols. Best of all, though, our work with the Overwatch League is going to give an opportunity for our UH students to participate in running a major international tournament. It's a chance they would never get any other way. I know a lot of people think of esports as just being about the gamers, but there's a whole ecosystem of business, logistics, technology, and it's a billion-dollar industry and growing, and our students will have this amazing opportunity on the front line. So stay tuned as that takes place over the summer.